Hi, Monica.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yes, thank you. So I'm pretty sure, Monica, that you are the first therapist I've interviewed on Leaders Talk
Wow.
Communication. So congratulations. That's exciting
Thank
on
you.
being the
Thank you.
first. Thank you so much again for thank you for being here with me today. I'm really excited to talk to you. I think it'll be interesting to talk about your role as both therapist, clinician, and business owner. And so I'm really anxious to get into this conversation with you. We first met through NAWBO, the National
Yes.
Association of Women Business Owners, right? We're
Yes,
both
we did.
members, so we are sisters in NAWBO. And as the founder of Family Therapy Group of Weston, as I said, you're both therapist and CEO.
Hmm.
And so I think that that's an interesting duality of roles, and we're going to talk about that. You're leading your practice as a business owner, and you're helping people manage their mental wellness so that they can thrive in the world. And as you say on your website, I think it's find a greater sense of connection.
Right.
Today's conversation is all about that other role as CEO, as business leader, because Leaders Talk Communications is all about that, helping leaders understand how other executives are managing communications, highlighting what's working, what the
Hmm.
lessons they've learned, so that so you can gain insights from one another. And
Yeah.
so I'm just going to jump right in. My first question that I ask is to please tell us about your work at Family Therapy Group of Weston and what inspires you the most about what you do.
No, absolutely. And thank you, Jennifer. So I've been a clinician for the last 25 years. And 5 years ago, as I continue to serve my community, I am in Weston, the demand for mental health services kept increasing. And I couldn't serve all the families. And I decided to then start a group practice where I could bring quality clinicians to join me in this mission to keep families together. That is how the whole
Mm.
mission started. We wanted to be able to provide services to families that were struggling, whether it is that they were struggling with their teens or the couples were struggling, so that we could
Yeah.
try to beat the odds and give them the skills that they needed to stay together. So that's how this whole journey
Mm.
5 years ago started. And we went from two clinicians to four to six to 23. So we definitely have grown a bunch in the last few years, but it came out of tough times.
I saw that huge list of people on your site. I don't even know that that was there when I looked a year ago or months
We
ago.
keep growing. We've been blessed enough to have the trust of the community, so we keep growing.
I love that. Yeah, that also means there's need out there, right? There's need. So what is the thing that inspires you the most about what you do? Is it that early mission to serve families and in Weston? What is it? Is there a
It's the mission, but it's also the transformation that we have seen. Even for myself, I've been in the
Mm.
field for 25 years. So it is great to see somebody who I worked with as a teenager who are now parents, and how they're
Oh,
able to
wow.
parent, and how a lot of the things that they struggle with growing up, now that they are in their parents' shoes, they understand it so much more. So for us is when we see our clients have those aha moments, is when we have those couples that are at the brink of divorce and they're able to save their marriage, or when we see the relationship between a parent and a teenager who's struggling to really turn the corner and improve. So that's what keeps us moving
Yeah.
forward every single day, because we see the beauty of what, when communication gets better, how the relationship really blossoms.
Wow, you're seeing transformation right before your very eyes. I can't believe that you have folks you worked with as teens
I
and you're now seeing them as parents. Oh my goodness, what a joy that must be to see that growth and change in people's lives, especially from a teenager. That's awesome.
it's
Um,
fantastic. Yes, it is.
yeah. In your role as CEO, like I said, you've got a sizable team now, right? Therapists, psychologists, interns, even a coach, our dear friend Erica Obando. Um,
Yes.
Tell me about the different kinds of audiences that you have to communicate with as the leader and where you feel you thrive in connecting with them so that you can lead effectively, so that you can support them, so you can be a great partner, so you can be a great boss. or whatever the foundation of the relationship is with them. Talk about the different stakeholders that that you connect with as a leader, and where you feel you as Monica thrive in communicating with them.
So that's quite interesting because I went to school to be a social worker and not a CEO.
Ah,
That's a very different mindset, and so I find that I'm communicating with my clinical team is our most important tier in here. They're the ones that provide the services, but there is specific communication that goes for them. I have a leadership team and an operational team, and so there's different
mm,
communication key topics that I discuss with every one of them, as well as then communicating with the community about what it is that we do, right? So I'm using different communication skills with every group that I interact with, but still trying to deliver this very clear message of what we do, but also how we uphold ourselves on what it is that we do. But it's
mhm.
being a process of growth for sure, because what's important to our clients might not necessarily be important to a community partner, or might not necessarily be important to we work with insurance companies to an insurance company, for example. So I
Mhm.
have
Might
found
not
that
be
I have to
important to an
tailor,
employee.
might not be important to employees. So it's just been interesting to just be able to communicate what's important to them, keeping that clear so that whatever value they're looking for, they're able to feel that we are able to provide.
Yeah, and what's your secret sauce as Monica? Where's the when you're communicating with all of those different types of people, what is it that you think allows you to do so effectively?
So
I'm
I think
assuming
it's
that
just
you're doing it effectively,
no, no, no. And I
especially
think
with
it's
your
just
background.
crafting that a little bit more. But I think it's just to be authentic and just to show up real the way that I am. And if I don't have an answer, I just let them know, hey, I'm going to look into that and I will get back to you. I think because I am trained as a therapist, I'm trained to listen and to understand. And to take my time before I give an answer. I want it to be accurate. So I think that's my secret sauce. Just I tend to listen more and to ask more questions first, and that
Yeah.
has worked out pretty good for me.
That's a really great skill to have. We know that it's very difficult for people to listen actively so that they can ask intelligent questions, probing questions that really help people uncover and that help to develop and build the relationship. So that's a really important skill, Monica,
Thank you.
that you
Yeah.
developed as a therapist. You know, you also talked about um, what's important for one group may not be important for another. And as you communicate, you know, it's so important to target the messaging so that you may have your overall, you know, you want to communicate about uh, family therapy group of Weston and your values and what you stand for and how you support people as an organization, and then being able to pick and choose from that based on what the situation is, the audience is, what the moment is really important. So targeting your messaging to each group is really important. And it sounds like you recognize that and you're doing that. I'm curious about the partnership that you have with Erica and why it was important to you to build that kind of relationship as a business owner.
No, absolutely. And so what I mentioned to you, we serve different populations from the kiddos to the teens to the couple, the parents or the couples, the grandparents. But the one aspect of that we didn't have was working with management tier or CEOs of different companies that were looking to when they were experiencing issues in the workforce, whether it was
Ah,
with their bosses, because there's a different language that happens in the workforce that is different than the emotional language that happens in an intimate relationship. So we were finding
mhm.
that we needed a specialist that would come in and provide them, whether it was with the DISC assessments or with the different assessments about their personality, so that they could show up in the workforce differently. And us as therapists or behavioral therapists, we're not necessarily training that. So that's where the magic of pairing with Erica Obando, who's our executive coach, really came into light so that we could offer that extra service to those that needed it.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, you're not only filling a need, it's also a really smart it's really a really smart and creative way to expand your business, a way for Erica as well to have access to other clients. I think that's really smart that you did that, and that's why I wanted to ask you the question about it. And so you've got this partner relationship as well.
Mhm.
Talk to me a bit about how you communicate with your teams inside your organization, because I'm just curious how it is in sort of a healthcare situation. As I said, you're the first therapist that I've talked to who's also a business owner. I mean, do you have regular team meetings? Do you, I'm curious how you communicate the values of the business, or how you communicate like the work of the business, or do you do that, how the business is going, so everybody's on the same page? Talk to me a bit about what that looks like for you.
No, and we definitely. So I have what's called the state of the practice meetings once a year, or maybe
Ah,
twice a year, where we're able to give everybody an idea of, hey, this is the new initiatives, this is where we are, this is what we're doing well, what works well. And then we have staff meetings. I believe it's once a quarter. Just again, as we prepare, every season is different for us. This is our busy season. This is when all the families are back from school, all the kiddos are back in school but struggling, and we're
ah,
busy from now until May. And so we have a meeting right before school season starts, so we communicate expectations and how to manage what's coming. We have another meeting in December, middle of the way, to touch base on how do we support families during the holidays and then before
yeah,
school leads out. And then we have smaller meetings monthly in terms of what our therapists are, the clients, the caseload that they have, and how they're managing that caseload. And then I have meetings with my operations managers, where in terms of we live on intakes or referrals that we have, and how we're managing those referrals to make sure that we are serving our community at large. So there's different meetings depending on the metrics that we have different metrics to make sure that the business is thriving and
yeah,
just
yeah,
thriving, so that there are
yeah.
different people that have been able to put in place to keep those metrics working, so that we're able to just keep moving forward.
And I love even hearing that you've got metrics, right? That you're sort of that you're measuring what's working, what's not, that you're thinking about that from a business perspective. The fact that trained as a social worker and now find yourself as this business owner, and you have an understanding of the operational needs of the business. So that's very interesting. Yeah, I was curious about that. So thank you for talking to
Well,
me
I
about
had to have a crash course on all
that.
KPIs and P&Ls, things that I didn't go to school for, but it's been
Yeah,
important as a business owner to just learn and not to be
yeah,
reactive when things happen, but also to be proactive. So I think that's
yeah.
what took me the longest, just to know what my key factors were in making sure that this business was going to survive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. And it can even probably be a little uncomfortable sometimes to talk about the fact that you're serving community and you're a business. So I get that, and you've
Yeah.
gotta manage that. And I think the word you said earlier is really what makes the difference, the authenticity that you bring to your work, the fact that you started this business because you wanted to serve and help people. It's more than just a business for you.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But I also have learned from others who are in different business or in this similar one, that because we have such a big heart, we just want to give it all away. But I also
Yeah.
understand the reality that
You
we
also
have
have to
to
eat.
the responsibilities to paying rent, that
Yeah.
we have to be mindful of. So that I think
Yeah.
most of us in the mental health space, if we could just work for free, we would. But that there's a reality in how it is that we're able to serve. But also, it is important for me that our clinicians feel valued, that our clinicians feel
Mm,
compensated for what they're doing. There's a lot of emotion that goes into what we do, as well as
yeah.
anybody else who's in the caring profession. But so we definitely want to make sure that they really feel the support that we have for them, but that we are able to also keep like parameters for them so that they don't get burnt out.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah,
important, right? Like they're
yeah,
they're doing the hard work and they need to take care of themselves as well.
absolutely.
And having a great working environment is a part of that. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit. Tell me what's your number one communications challenge that you faced as a leader, and what did you do to manage that?
Absolutely. So when I started to grow and to delegate, it was hard for me to move it from concept to the idea of how I lived in my head into paper. And so
Ah,
I would just give them the tools and I would expect them to just go do it. But they were not clear in what were the metrics, what success looked like when the project was accomplished. So I had to learn to really be more specific, not to
mm,
micromanage, but at least give them ideas. I give them leeway in how they do it, but this is what it looks like in order to be completed. And I have found that that has worked so much more. My people just run with it and they're innovative and they can make it happen as long as they know the parameters in which they're able to move with it. So
yeah.
that was a shift that I had to create from moving it from here to like a plan in paper.
This reminds me of a session that I sat in May with a group of, um, I don't know if they were neurodiverse experts, but they were talking
Mhm.
about in organizational environments how clear instruction, which ultimately everybody needs, right? How clear instruction is so important when you're working with people who are neurodiverse. But I think it's important for anyone rather than saying, let's get this done, like giving parameters around what you want to get done, or think more strategically, like what does that mean, what does that look like, and giving people parameters for that. So the fact that you realize you had to be specific in what you were asking people to do, I know was very, very helpful. Okay, so what has been the most successful vehicle or platform that you've used that helps you communicate more effectively with the people who are important to the success of your business, of your practice?
The most successful because so I think that believe it or not, in person, I think communication has been the most important. I think people are able to relate more to what we're saying. Where we have a lot of community partners within where we are, but I think more than email, I think it's just forming those relationships that networking builds trust.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
especially in the space that I live in, mental health, trust is the most important aspect. But they have to get to know
Yeah,
you, And
yeah.
so once they know what we stand for, I think that that has given us that vehicle that we needed to continue to grow from it.
Are you always seeking to communicate, to connect with community partners as much as possible in person then, if that's what works for you?
We have found, especially after the pandemic, where I think everything was virtual, that
Yeah.
there's this big need for people to connect in person to one another. And so I have found that that has been the most effective rooms or places to be in. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we see
Yeah.
that through NABO, right? Like we really
Yeah.
enjoy getting together with one another and seeing people IRL in real life. So my last question that I love to ask, Monica, is um, all about your dreams for your business. Like, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you want the world to understand most deeply about you or about the work that you're doing at Family Therapy Group of Weston?
No, absolutely. I think it would be that people don't have to wait to be in crisis in order to get mental health services. The
Mm,
mental health services is we're giving the skills. Somebody had mentioned this to me that is almost like a muscle that once we work on the skill sets to manage difficulties, to manage transitions, to manage setbacks, that then we have it within us. So when something happens, we're able to be ready for it, right? A lot of people just wait until they are divorcing or they're in the midst of depression or a bad breakup or grief to come in for counseling. Whereas counseling, if we're able to use a proactive approach, it could just be an add-on. It could just, we have now people that just come in. We have
mm,
a lot of younger people come in. They just want to get the skill set and then they move on. So
yeah,
that will be the magic one. Just come in, get the skill set, and you don't have to be. A lot of people think that they're going to be medicated, and that's only for extreme cases. That is not the
yeah,
case. It's just a skill set for life
yeah.
and especially right now where people are really looking for support and for understanding that's where the mental health space really thrives in.
Wow, yeah, the time to get support is now, not when you're in crisis, not when you're, that's what I'm hearing you say, like get the skills now because we know life has its ups and downs and hills and valleys. And if you can get it in a moment before you get into that valley, then that's so much better, right? You'll have the skill sets
Absolutely.
to deal with it.
Yeah.
Wow, I've learned so much about your business. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with me today, and thank you for your time. This has been great.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me. And as always, I always love having a conversation with you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.